Hi there, this is Juno Dawson. It's my first vlog in a really long time. I've been super busy. I've been away with work and I'm not feeling very well as well. I feel a bit skanky. Um, I've been moving. Here we are in my new bedroom. Welcome. This is a really serious video because I'm really angry. I'm really angry about what happened last night in Orlando at the Pulse nightclub. At the moment, the news is saying that like 50 people are dead and like there's at the moment 50 and like 50 more people injured. It's just horrendous. You know, this was in a gay club, a place where LGBT people should be safe. And I just sort of wanted to do a video in response to what happened in Orlando. So sad. And, you know, it reminds me of Bataclan, obviously, and I can't imagine the panic and the hysteria and what it must have been like inside the club. It must have been just a living nightmare. I've been really upset about it all day, and obviously my wishes go out to the friends and family of those people who are affected. But I did want to talk about it because, you know, this is not to sort of claim responsibility, you know, or to sort of take ownership of it on behalf of the LGBT community. But this, without a doubt, in my mind, was a homophobic hate crime. The person who did it didn't walk into any old club. They chose an LGBT venue, and, you know, there'll be LGBT people watching this who will say that they weren't surprised. You know, every day for us, we deal with hate. You know, we deal with, you know, I've been spat at, I've been shouted at, I get stared at, I have people taking pictures of me as a trans woman. You know, I don't think there are a lot of people within the LGBT community who are surprised that this has happened. And I've already seen some people on Twitter, you know, saying, don't politicise this, don't politicise, you know, this massacre and this tragedy, which it is a tragedy. But the thing is, as LGBT people, our lives are politicised and our lives are talked about as a political bargaining chip. And, you know, right now there are people debating which toilets I'm allowed to use. So, you know, while LGBT lives are politicised, I certainly think that unfortunate deaths and, you know, these deaths shouldn't be in vain. And this is a learning point and it's a chance to change. And it's really lovely that on Instagram, people from within and with outside of the LGBT community are, you know, pray for Orlando. And that's true. And if you're religious, do, please, God. But, you know, I think actually we need a bit more than prayer. I think we need 4 things. I think we need, number 1, I hope this is the right way around, human rights for all. You know, in Northern Ireland, same-sex couples still get married, and that is, what, a 30-minute flight away from where I am right now, that we still don't have equal rights. And while we don't have equal rights, while certain parts of society are told that they're not entitled to the same things as just cisgender or straight people, then of course they're going to grow up in fear. And I think so many LGBT people do grow up in fear. As soon as we realise that we're different, that we're not part of the majority group, we start to feel that we're less than. And that means that people live in fear. And, you know, right now, there's other reports coming through that there was going to be a second attack in LA Pride. You know, we want to be able to live free from fear. And until, you know, we don't have the same rights as everybody else, of course we will continue to live in fear. You know, how could we not? You know, I still clearly remember growing up with fear. Fear that I would die of AIDS, fear that my parents might throw me out, fear that I would be battered on the street, and yet now fear that somebody might come into a safe space and could open fire, and it's terrifying. And this is one of the reasons that I've been really passionately talking about the Vote Remain campaign, because I think actually a lot of the human rights that we enjoy as LGBT people in the United Kingdom, although again not in Northern Ireland, are because of the EU, because the EU have put those rights and preventions in place that have kept us safe and kept me safe in the workplace and kept me safe in my accommodation, and, you know, legally I'm about as safe as you can be. And of course, you know, we're still working on other parts of Europe, but I still think, you know, we need to be in Europe to make Europe better for LGBT people. The second, and you won't be surprised if you know me at all, is compulsory PSE and SRE education. And, you know, this would have tackled 2 things. You know, first of all, again, those young LGBT people might have felt safer and we could grow up without fear. But more importantly, I think that mandatory PSHE, we could look at radicalisation and we could look at why a lot of young men, and it does seem to be young men, are so angry why these young men get on these planes and boats and cross over from Turkey to Syria. You know, why is that? Why are young men in particular feeling so disenfranchised. And this is something we should be tackling in schools. Never mind standards in maths and English. If young people don't feel safe and happy in school, they're not going to achieve to their fullest anyway. And so I think compulsory PSE and SRE, it could help both LGBT people and people from outside the community to understand us better, to see the similarities before they see the differences. So I've said, Nicky Morgan, I've tried to meet with our education minister before and it's never happened. And I think, that I understand again from Twitter that, there have been a lot of politicians in America who have actively blocked gay rights movements in the United States that again, could have maybe helped on this instance. Number 3 is better representation in the media. Already I'm seeing people pop up on the TV talking about this atrocity, and not a lot of them are LGBT. A lot of people having an opinion about our lives and about our deaths. We need more LGBT people on television because it's going to make it normal. And I'm all for LGBT people becoming boring in the media. Let's get to that place where, we see as many LGBT people on TV as we see white cisgender people. And of course, that reflects diversity across the spectrum. People from different backgrounds, ethnicities, cultures, races, religions. We just need more representation. Because already, again, I'm seeing people blame this as an Islam attack. And of course, this is an attack by Islam. The vast majority of Muslims live quite happily side by side with LGBT people, and that is not being reflected in these early reports. Again, you've got crazy people coming out saying, LGBT people had this coming. You've got people coming out and trying to use this as another keep Muslims out of America thing, and that's crazy, and that's not on at all. So, we need more LGBT people in the media, and we also need more Muslim people in the media as well. And the last one, for now, this one's fairly obvious, and of course people are already talking about this, is gun control. Pretty clearly, I'm writing about this in the UK. We don't really have mass shootings because, we're not allowed guns. And people are saying that this chap who went into the Pulse, he bought these guns legally. At the moment, both in the EU, in the United Kingdom, and in America, we have elections coming up. And I would urge Americans to really think about gun control as a part of when they go to vote. Because as I understand it, again, I'm not American, but as I understand it, there are so few Americans in the NRA. But that tiny minority of people in the NRA are hugely rich and hugely powerful and paying politicians to speak and vote and act on their behalf. And so the only way that America can do something about that is with democracy and with voting power and with saying what's more important, this right to bear arms or the right to live free from fear. And I think while there is such easy access to guns in the United States, people, and increasingly people from minority groups, will be living in fear. So that's my rant done. I'm sorry if this is angry, but it's just something I wanted to say. So yeah, please do keep your thoughts and your prayers coming in. But I think those 4 things are things we can actually do. And let's learn from this. This is a tragedy. It's the biggest shooting in US history. It's a disaster. And if Sandy Hook wasn't enough to change people's minds, then maybe this one will be, because it will just keep happening. Until then, it's Pride season. To both people within and without of the LGBT community, I would say remember that Pride is a protest and that this is an opportunity to say that we will not be silenced. We're not going to go away. We won't hide. We have nothing to hide about, and we are certainly not to blame for the hatred that we sometimes receive. To young LGBT people watching this, know that I'm not going to shut up. I would encourage you to keep on going out there, hold hands, kiss your partners, be out there, because we deserve our place on this planet as much as anybody else, and we have nothing to be ashamed of, and we are entitled to live free from fear. Okay, I'll be back with a less ill, less ranty video soon, but until then, stay safe and stay free.